Virginia, you're the only person who has ever served as the Chief Executive Officer for both Clark County and the City of Las Vegas. You've had executive positions in this town for about 25 years. You've seen things change over the years, and it seems like right now the times economically are different than anything we've seen in the past. How do you govern in a time like this?
In all the time I've been in Nevada, these are the worst economic times that I can remember. It's going to be a very difficult period now for the county to look at fixing its structural imbalance. Our expenditures are exceeding our revenues, and I think there are going to be some very difficult decisions ahead for the next county manager.
How do you prioritize services? We deliver so many different kinds of services to so many different kinds of populations, yet you can't afford to provide services to everybody. How do you make those? How do you establish those priorities?
Well, it is very difficult, and of course the highest priority goes to things that are mandated or things that affect public safety. For example, the Department of Family Services, Child Protective Services, foster care and adoption, those are all priorities. They're things that affect people and families in Clark County in a very direct and personal manner. So we'll give a priority to those things that affect public safety, again, police, fire, child welfare. But again, we've got to strike a balance between providing those very essential and fundamental services and trying to maintain the quality of life for our residents.
What's your take on the state of the county after all we've endured?
I think the county and the county commissioners have done a very good job of trying to adjust to the falling revenues and to live within its means. So I think the county is really done what it can to live within its means.
You referred to the child welfare system. Obviously it's very important. The county is responsible for taking care of this community's abused and neglected children. You've made that a priority. Talk about that.
That is a priority, and it's been a priority for the last several years here, and since child welfare integration, which began in 2001. I think the county's made a lot of progress. We've made a lot of improvements. I think the system now between the foster care and adoption and the CPS work is starting to function like one system. So I think we're through some of the challenges of integration. A lot of progress has been made. I think there's a lot that we could still do to improve the system, and hopefully that'll continue to be a high priority for the county.
You think further improvements can still be made in light of the economic conditions that we're under right now?
I think that we have to continue to try. There won't be a lot of resources, but there are things you can do to improve the outcomes that aren't necessarily related to funding. So I think for minimal funding really for training. I think now that we have some people, the system grew very fast. I think we have employees who are maturing in their roles in the position. So I think there are still opportunities for improvement. Of course, funding helps with providing additional services to families that are in duress, and additional funding can reduce caseloads further, and all those things will also improve the outcomes. But I think we're going to continue to try to improve the outcomes we can, and especially if we can do something that doesn't require a lot of resources, and it's absolutely incumbent upon us to do that.
UMC obviously has been a source of a lot of attention around here lately, and tell us about the kind of things you've done at UMC and why our viewers should care about the hospital.
I think there's a real opportunity with UMC and the Hospital Advisory Board to take UMC to just an entirely new level. Chairman Reed at the beginning of 2010 called to look at creating an academic medical center. I think that's an opportunity to think way beyond the UMC just being a hospital, but becoming really a center for something much larger, an academic health research, teaching institution, all of those kind of ancillary things that go with academic medical centers. I think there's an opportunity for all that to happen. The Hospital Advisory Board that the Commissioner has appointed has some incredibly talented people there, and I think if we can tap that talent and we can get some synergies working over there, I think we have a real opportunity with UMC.
The legislature will be convening in February. There's been a lot of talk about the legislature taking money from local governments to fund state services. How is the county going to approach this next session, and what's your take?
Well, one of the first things I think we want to do is we want the legislators to understand what the county does, what county services we provide. I think they should also understand that we face the same kind of structural deficit that the state faces. So if they shift services, take tax revenues, those kind of things, they may in fact actually be doubling the impact to local or county governments. So I hope that they will first try to understand what the impacts to governments are, local governments. I hope they'll give us an opportunity to look at cumulatively everything that they're proposing so we can look at what the total impact is, because it's very difficult when you have a lot of different impacts and a lot of different bills and you really don't know what happened until it's over. So I'd hope that we're able to address the cumulative impacts of whatever they're contemplating before the session closes, so we have some time, if they're willing to explain to them and to make some adjustments. I also think that they need to really have a good conversation with the local governments and maybe with local taxpayers about those kind of changes, because they're going to affect the ability of the county to deliver services.
It almost seems inevitable that we're going to have to cut services if we lose these millions of dollars that they're talking about. Do you think that's the case?
I think that is a possibility. I mean, we won't know until the governor releases his budget, and even then we won't know until the legislative session ends really what they're going to do. But that's it's certainly looking like that could be a possibility.
This might be your last interview on Channel 4. Is there anything you'd like to tell the citizens of Clark County?
Well, just that it's really been an honor and a pleasure to serve the residents of Clark County. I really think I have the best job in local government, and it's been humbling at times. And I hope that things will continue to be well managed here at the county. And I really appreciated the support from the residents, the employees, and from the commissioners.
Any words of advice for the next county manager, whoever that might be?
I think it's going to be the next county manager, because of the kind of budget situation he or she will be facing. It's going to be very important that that person is able to communicate the state of the county to the residents, to the public, to the media, and get input on what's important to the community, what are the priorities, so that when we have to make those cuts that we might have to make, that there's a good understanding of where their taxpayer money is going and what they're paying for, and then what changes we're going to have to make.
Okay, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Eric.